Hey guys, it's Truth, Trust, and Trajectory with your girl Shakim B. Today we're going to be talking about starting over. What if the only thing standing between you and the life you've been dreaming of is your ability to close the door on what no longer serves you? Today we're diving into the courage, clarity, and confidence it takes to let go of the past and start fresh in love and life. I want to introduce you guys to my guest, Stephanie Jones. All right. Hey, Steph. How are you?
Hey, good. How are you?
I'm good.
Good to be here.
I was definitely really excited about recording this with you because our initial conversation was so awesome. So I was
Spot
like,
on.
it's it's
Absolutely.
definitely yes. All right. So I introduced you to my viewers. Can you just tell my audience a little bit about your story and kind of like where you're at with leaving one area of your life, basically closing the door and starting over again and kind of like what invoked that for you?
Yeah. So, hey, everybody again. Steph Jones, also known as Lala Kalandra. I am a marriage and family therapist and a mindfulness life coach. And I live a life of transition, right? Where I am open to moving and shifting and growing and evolving. And so open to that I actually moved to South Africa from Boston, Massachusetts. I know. So you talk about closing one door and opening another. It was just my time. I came for the first time in January. And as soon as I put my feet on the soil, the land itself told me to come back home. And who can say no to the land?
Yeah.
Not me. Who can say no to Mama Africa? Who can say no to the continent? No, I don't want to. Not me. So
Mhm.
I started, going back. I headed back to the States and started unplugging and really starting to say, okay, what would it look like for me to go ahead and move? And I did. And that's where I am now. So I like to help people who are in transitional states and spaces who need to sometimes slam a door closed, right? Slam a door shut. Sometimes we just do it we need to slam a door shut because sometimes other things can't open until we close it. So that's where I am now. And so this is a perfect topic to talk about.
I love that. So, first of all, congratulations on the move because
Thank
that's
you.
huge. Like,
That's so big.
I was actually talking with someone the other day who also relocated, not out of country, but out of state. And I said, it really takes a lot um, in a person to just follow that prompt because a lot of people always get that call, but they never heed to the call, you know?
Mhm.
And to be able to go to Africa, like, that's amazing. So I have some
Big.
questions, but first I want to know, like, what is it like out
Oh my gosh. It is like a whole different ball game. The atmosphere out here is very peaceful. Often we as Black Americans, or even if you are from somewhere else and you live in America and you happen to be Black, there is an oppressiveness that is in America, and it's just a reality, right? It just is there. It's ever present. You always feel it. There is the peace on the continent that cannot be explained. There is a freedom. There is a reconnection. So it's really good. It's awesome to be here. I'm learning about culture that was robbed, it was stolen from us, so it's
there?
good to be reacquainted. But it's also a big culture shock. I won't say it's a utopia, it's a huge culture shock. I am an immigrant in a different country. I don't know the language, some of the customs, some of the you just have to be
Yeah,
careful.
yeah,
And over here, when they hear that you're American, they automatically think that you have money. So you could be double charged. They could be trying to get you to buy a bunch of stuff. And I think it's just them learning that no matter what my bank account is, just because I have money doesn't mean that I want to be spending it all. Like money.
exactly.
But America has done a really good PR job, and it has made the entire world believe that it is the number one country, and that it's
Mhm.
just opulence and just golden rainbows and golden streets and all that. And we have to be the ones to tell them, no matter what my bank account is, see me as a person, not as a money bag.
It's
So that's
it's not like that. See?
even if it is like that, it
Yeah, I
doesn't
mean,
mean that I want
still,
to spend all my money.
I don't, listen, equal opportunity, treat me fair is all I'm
Equal.
saying.
Charge me what you charge the locals. Charge me what you
Yeah,
charge the locals.
exactly. Precisely. I've heard multiple people talk on that because I have in-laws that are from Ghana. So when they go, and then even Ivorian as well. My stepfather is Ivorian, so
Mm-hmm.
I've heard like crazy stories, like just
Yep.
even visiting over there. I'm like, dang, it ain't
It's
safe. It
real.
ain't safe.
It's not. As soon as they hear your accent, it's like cha-ching, 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 cha-ching.
They say, "Ooh, she got money."
Mhm.
That's not cool.
It's wild.
Oh my goodness. All right, so bring me back a little bit. As
Mm.
far as like before you got that initial call, like can you walk us through like what was your journey? Like what something happens prior to the call, right? So it's like that catalyst. What was it for you?
If I can be honest, sis, it was the pandemic.
Mhm.
I had recognized and I had saw what was going on in the pandemic and the mental state of people. As a therapist, automatically you just look at how everything's going emotionally. But
Yes.
then I saw how our country was treating it and how it was behaving. It just started making me say, wait a minute, maybe I need to explore different possibilities, different avenues, different doors. Maybe I need to see where else my physical body needs to be planted. It was the pandemic. It really was the catalyst for the move, for just a shift in mindset. I've always been a traveler. I consider myself to be a global citizen, but I've always been like, I'm going to live in America. That's my birth country. Who would think about moving out of there? But the
Exactly.
pandemic really revealed that maybe it was time for me. I
Mhm.
can't speak for anybody else, for me to start looking at different places where
Yes.
I wanted to live, just based on how things were handled and how it was just a lot going on. That is, I can pinpoint that. That's what did it for me.
Okay.
Hmm.
So, yeah, it was definitely a crazy time for, like, a lot of
Yeah.
people, like, I know personally, like, with my experience, I think myself and a lot of people around that were around me, like, alcoholism probably raised so much to the point where it was um, like a joke, like a meme where they were like, "Oh, vodka, it's good for depression," and I'm like, people
Yeah.
were really eating that up. I mean, me, it was wine, but, it was
Me
bad.
too.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
the big bottles, like
Yeah,
Total Wine. I'm not ashamed to say it, because I
yeah.
think we all had to find a way to cope. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? I'm a woman of faith. I believe in the Most High. If there's no but it's just like I needed wine at that time.
Yeah,
It's just a reality, because there was just so much going on and there was so many
yeah.
things happening. And the big bottles, not the no, not the little
Yeah, the
3.5
big one,
ounce.
not the little yes.
Let me be clear, like the big, the big 1.5,
Yes, yes. No, it
because
it was it was like that. It was really like that. Like, they knew me at the liquor store, like, down the street.
baby,
"Let me get a case of your best wine."
huh?
Like,
Total Wine, Total Wine knew my name. Oh, hey, how you
mhm.
doing? And then they had the nerve to deliver.
She said, "Oh, shoot," because it got embarrassing after a while. They start
Mhm.
remembering you, and "Sir, you don't know me."
Exactly, exactly. It's true, but it's what we
"Oh,
needed to do. And
yeah,
substance abuse in general was just
mhm,
up. People were so thrown off, and the
yeah,
coping mechanisms that we thought we had, they didn't do anything in comparison to a deadly disease wiping out millions of people. What
mhm,
can we do?
yeah." So, quickly, like, during the pandemic, you were practicing as a therapist, correct?
Hmm.
So, what was your take on, as much as you're able to share with, like, relationships and maybe, like, the domestic aspect of it, and, like, how did that affect you? Because I always say, like, I always think, like, a therapist might need a therapist just depending on, like, the stature of stuff that you see, and you know what I mean? Like, you have to take on a lot from other people, so
Yeah, such a good question. Therapists need a therapist, and I have surrounded myself, like my inner core filled with people who are actually therapists. Like my good friends, they're actually
mhm,
in the field. They know the terminology, they know what they're going through. And it's not
yeah,
to say that I can't hang out with everybody, but I need the people who are speaking into my life to know,
mhm,
okay, like this is it.
Yes.
So during the pandemic for therapists, like it was rough. It was so tough because we had to hold things together for other people while dealing with our own emotions. While
Yes.
the pandemic didn't skip us just because we're therapists, it hit us too. But we have
Yes.
to hold people. We have to make sure that people are okay while making sure that we're okay too. So I definitely have a therapist. He's an amazing Nigerian man. Love him so much. Definitely because it's just things you need to share. What
Mhm.
I did realize, you mentioned about relationships, and that's such an interesting topic, especially in the pandemic,
Mhm.
because we're able to hide with our jobs. You could stay at your job for 12 hours a day and then go home and then see
Yes.
your husband or your wife or whoever, and give them a little kiss, rub the kids' heads, and
Oh,
put
like,
them to bed. Go on to bed, feed them dinner, and go to bed, and then go back and do it again. But the pandemic, baby, you couldn't go anywhere, so you had to deal with all the crap and all the
yeah.
mess that we decided that we weren't going to deal with. And
Mhm.
that thing hit us in the face. And there was a lot of domestic abuse, and there were a lot of relationships broken up. There were a lot of marriages destroyed because you
Mhm.
actually realize that you don't like the person that you're married to, but you wouldn't know because you don't spend any time with them.
Time with
Your
them. Yeah.
job, you know what I mean? Your job, your hobbies, hanging out with your friends, with your boys, with your girls. You
Mhm.
decide, I'm not going to be home. I'm going to be married. I'm going to be in a long relationship. But you
Mhm.
have to, the pandemic forced us to deal with our mess. And a lot of
Yeah.
people couldn't deal with it. So it broke up
Yeah.
a lot of relationships. But on the flip side, and I'm about to land this plane, on the flip side, it also showed people the true like strength of their relationships. Like my dad and my bonus mom,
Mm.
they got married in November 2019,
Wow.
and their relationship is so strong because they had an accelerated track. They
Mhm.
were newlyweds, and they were forced to depend on each other so much. So that worked for them. So it varies on the spectrum.
Yeah. No,
Hmm.
I definitely, I've seen both sides of it. I've seen myself included. Actually, right before the pandemic actually was like before they started shutting stuff down.
Hmm.
My ex-husband and I had just purchased a house together, and a week within us moving into the house, I get hit up by the mistress,
Oh,
and
of course.
yeah, so they ended up shutting stuff down, and I just like I completely lost it, you know what I mean? And it wasn't because, because we had been together for 14 years.
That's a long time.
It's a very long time. But again, like something that you had mentioned about actually not being a lot of people, I feel like use marriage as like, or even relationships as a cloak
Yeah,
to cover up, their own stuff. So we can
correct.
be in a partnership with someone that we don't even align with. And it's just a relationship of convenience.
It's so convenient.
It's very convenient. We have 6 children together. So, it's just like we kinda just fell into that. It's like, okay,
Yep.
well, we have these kids, why not? And the
Yep.
pandemic really did show that. It's like, "Yo, I really don't like you," on top of the fact that, you already had me out here looking crazy.
I
You know,
don't like you. I don't want to be
yeah,
around you. I don't.
fashion.
I'm wasting my time. It
Mhm.
it forced us. It forced us to feel the things that we were hiding and pushing
Yes.
under the rug for so long. The rug was like, I'm removing myself. I'm out of here, and we had to deal
Yep,
with
y'all
everything.
figure it out.
Figure it out. I'm out. Peace.
Oh my gosh. So, after you, moved there, like, before you decided to move there, like, what was your intention, like, in moving there? Obviously, you felt called to move somewhere. Did you already have it set in your mind that that's where you were going, or was there, like, a clear vision in going there?
Yeah. Man, another good question. I always knew I wanted to come to the continent,
Mhm.
especially growing up in America. We see the commercials with the little boy with the extended belly and the flies around him, and it's in the arms of an angel.
Oh,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
like,
We
we
hear the
don't
song.
watch.
Come on, baby. You know what it is. We hear the song. We do this, we do that. So we think that Africa is huts
Mhm.
and people blowing darts and lion. And there are lions and there are huts and all that. But we have
Mhm.
truly been lied to and duped. So I knew I wanted to go to Africa, and I'm connected with a really good company, and I ended up working for them, and they were based in South Africa, and so that's when my eyes started going. And then my dad started saying that it was going to be important for certain people to leave the country,
Mhm.
certain things are happening, the election, uncertainty, financial crisis, all that. And he put
Yes.
that, he's one of my elders, like he's on my board of directors for my life. And he said it, and I said, "Oh, okay." And my ears were open. He who have an ear, let him hear. My ears were open, and I said,
Mhm.
"Okay." My eyes were going towards South Africa because a lot of things were just going towards that way.
Yeah.
And it was preparation, and I just knew I needed to see it, and I saw it first. I knew it was my time, and I will. And this is the admonition that I'll give, though, when you're closing that door and when you're trying to open up, a new chapter. Make sure that it's your time. For all the listeners who are hearing, make sure that it's your time. If you dare go before it's your time, you're gonna meet a bunch of chaos. The
Yes.
door was open. I knew it. I could see it, and I walked my feet through it. And everything that happened after confirmed that this was the right decision. you
Yes,
know
I
i,
love
I
that.
think i think that's key, right, where we're
Yeah.
talking about going into a new chapter. And then I wanted to meet the version of myself that was in South Africa, the version of me that was here. I had exhausted all my versions in America, and
Mhm.
I needed to meet the new woman in South Africa who I was going to experience. That's what pushed me to go. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Ooh, she's calling to me, she's speaking to me. I'm going to meet the new version of myself, the evolved version that's letting
Mhm.
things go and picking up things." So I had to make sure it was my right time. And when I saw that door open, that I wasn't too afraid or too like scared to go through it.
I love that. And a lot of people will never, like, when they get that feeling that, "Hey, it's time," and for some people, like, it does come through, like, dreams or, like, just an
Yes.
inclination. Was that the case for you? Or was it just, like, more.
It was a combo. I got hit. I got like like a boxer gets an uppercut, a roundhouse, an upper. Like I was like bang, bang. It was like pop, pop, like I was like, 'cause it was trying to make sure I wasn't ignoring it. I'm a stubborn something, right?
Yeah.
I got all type of roots from all around the world. There's a lot of stubbornness in here. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it had to make sure that it punched me here, punched me there, hit me with the uppercut, all type of stuff. And I was like, I heard the dream. I heard the voice of the Most High. My dad, like South Africa, just started popping up on my timeline. Like all this stuff started
Mm,
happening. I'm like, this
yes.
is interesting. And it really takes courage. And it takes a lot of courage to answer the call and to step into a place that you should be.
Mhm.
I don't have any blood family out here. There's people that I know, but I don't have any blood family out here. Like, it's not like I went to go visit my family, and I'm single and I don't have any children yet. So it was just me one. I just picked up my stuff, packed up
Yeah.
my stuff, threw away what I didn't need, and came on. That was my story. Now, for someone who has 6 kids, okay,
Hey, girl, you bet not.
huh? And someone who's married, someone who's in a relationship, someone who's running this, running that, you
Yeah.
better take the time to know how can you unplug. It was easy for me.
Mhm.
Outside of me being afraid to come and me being afraid to close one door, because I was afraid. I'm
Yeah.
moving to a whole nother continent. What? Another
Yeah.
country, another place. Outside of that, it was easy for me because it's just me. I did
Mhm.
not have kids. I did not have a husband. I did not have to pick up and ask any permission. I said, "Steph, you want to go?" Steph said yes. Steph went.
Yes.
So it's a case by case. This is the admonition. Like, know your own story. Don't just be like, "Oh, it was easy for her. I'm gonna go." Know what you have going on so you can know how
Mhm.
to move if
Plan
it's your time.
accordingly. Yeah, absolutely. And I like the point that you had mentioned about, when if someone were to decide to, move prematurely, the level of chaos that people are met with. And I think that's a really strong thing because I feel like that happens so much in life, whether or not you're planning on moving out of state, out of country,
Yeah,
just, prematurely moving. Like we do it all of the time in
we
relationships,
do.
we
We
do it all of
do.
the time with jobs. You know what I mean? Like we do it for, you can usually tell if it's like for the wrong reasons because it comes out of desperation and lack.
Correct.
Mhm. So like what is your take on that?
It's true. And we move and we shift, and where it's desperation, it's lack, it's fear. And I know a couple people who came out too quick or did something too fast.
Yes.
And all of your decisions and all of the things that happen after you make the bad decision will confirm or deny if it was excuse me, if it was the right decision. It will tell you, the decision will tell you. We don't have to have a seance. The decision will tell you, because everything that happens, every action, every event that happens will confirm or deny if that is the right decision you should have made. Because
Yes.
when you're in alignment and you're on the right path, the path tells you. Like for me, when I came to South Africa, I didn't pay for any of my luggage. I had 5 big, huge bags. I didn't pay for any of my luggage. Why? Because I rode Delta, and Delta had messed up a bunch of people's flights. So they gave everyone free luggage, no matter. This is how I know it was my time. Of
Yeah.
all the times I could have come, sis, of all the times on the calendar that I could have
Mm.
come, I decided to come at the right time. I didn't know it was the right time until it started confirming itself. I paid nothing for my bags, and they were heavy. They were
Yeah.
very heavy bags. I paid zero for them because it was my time.
Mm.
They had delayed my flight twice. I was going to Amsterdam, they delayed it, and then I was going to Atlanta, it was a delay. So I just decided to just go a later day.
Mm.
All my bags free, didn't pay anything, because and I was like, I had my card out ready to pay, like, oh, where do I tap? Oh, you're all set. They threw all my bags out. I said, pardon me. I said, wait, is this because there was a bunch of cancellations? And he looked like embarrassed, like, yeah. And I started like dancing in the in the airport. I'm cuckoo like that. My mom was like, oh, okay.
Turn up. Yes.
It was my time. It
Mm.
was my time. And the time told me, and the
Yes.
events told me, and
Yes.
everything. I experienced that the whole time I was here. Things just worked out, doors opened. If it's the right choice and you're in alignment, maybe the path is gonna tell you. You won't experience certain things.
Exactly. And you'll least likely to experience resistance. And I say that the other thing I was gonna ask you, like when there were delays or anything like that, like did you add a question like, hey, am I supposed to be doing this? Because I know like that would be the first thing in my mind, like, oh my God, it's not going. But like also attests to your commitment to that too.
Yeah, it does. It was a big test. I have my oldest sister. She lives in Atlanta with my brother-in-law and her 4 children, right? My
Mm.
nieces and nephews. So when it was getting delayed, I was going to Atlanta anyway. I'm like, you know what? They've been begging me to move to Atlanta, begging me, please, Auntie Stephanie, come down, please, begging me. And I was
Mm.
like, you know what? Maybe maybe I'm just gonna move to Atlanta. Maybe it's just not for me to move to South Africa. All these thoughts, I was like, okay, no problem. I'll just switch up my ticket. I'm getting a layover in Atlanta anyway. I'll just move all there. All my stuff is going there anyway. And then in my mind, I'm like, no, like I'm supposed to be going to South Africa. I'm not supposed to be coming to Atlanta,
Yeah.
So it does make you question everything. And it is a test. You mentioned it's a test. It's
Yeah.
a test of, are you going to do what you know you're supposed to do? We're talking about obedience and going forth. If you've heard an instruction and then we decide to alter it,
Yeah.
that's chaotic. I knew I
Oh
needed
yeah.
to go there and do what I needed to do, because that's what I heard.
Exactly. I
Mm-hmm.
absolutely I love that. And the fact that when you said like it reminds me of synchronicity and just
Mm,
like how we were talking about the other day, like the moment that I decided to like um not resist, right? So if this was
right.
something that I truly wanted,
Yeah.
ideas start coming, right? And then it's like your old self versus your new self, right? Your new self knows what it's supposed to be, how it's supposed to be walking, but the old self is like somewhere's in the back trying to hold you
Yep.
and limit you and keep you in those same stuck patterns. You know
Yep.
what I mean?
Yep.
But when you do decide to, choose the new over the old, then it's like, yes, new doors do start opening. So
They
you're not
do.
gonna have to question anything. It's like it's to me, it reminds me of like we always talk about tests to see if you're serious, right? But then there's also those tests that get you to trust in your movement and the ability and the process. When they say trust the process, it's like, but if I had never seen anything like, you know, there's
Right.
nothing
How can you?
to trust it, but you're constantly getting that over and over again.
Yes,
Mhm.
it's
So,
true. Because how can you trust a process that you've never known? And
mm,
and and it's really about faith. How can I trust I've never been on this process. I don't know any family members who've gone. My dad moved to Ghana. The one who told me about coming to Africa, he moved to Ghana in November. So I came before him. Like I didn't know. Like how can you trust a process that you've never walked?
Yeah.
You have to have faith and you have to know who you're hearing from. It's key because there's a
Yeah.
lot of voices. There's a lot of voices talking and speaking. And we
Mhm.
have to know, okay, I need to hear the voice that knows me, and I need to hear the voice that's going to guide me in the right way. You're absolutely right. I
Yeah.
agree fully about that
Yeah.
process.
I definitely I love that whole from the timeline and the fact that you just knew like it took something that the whole world in that time probably looked at as like a huge to a lot of people it was like, oh my
Yeah,
God, it's horrible. Like if anything could go wrong that year, like it did.
it did.
However, everybody also labeled it as 2020 vision because a lot of
True.
people's eyes were open. So I feel like that is super, like, that's one of the most profound things, right? Because, like you said, like, we walk in the dark, right? So people walk in the dark so much so that it's like when your eyes are open, people don't
Hmm.
like what they see.
It's
You know what I'm
true.
saying? It's like,
It's
okay,
true.
this year, I don't care if you like what you're seeing, like you're gonna see it regardless of what. And you acted on that. And a lot of people did and some people didn't, and they mm.
I mean, and it's still there. We're going on daggone 5 years later in March. And it's in the and it's still right there.
Yeah,
And I love that it was a 2020 vision,
yeah,
and much respect and much honor to those who passed away.
yes,
However, the pandemic and the lockdown really was an awakening for a lot of people. 2019 was that year of awakening, that
yeah.
year of opening the eyes, the 400 years, like all that. It depends on what you subscribe to,
Oh yeah,
and it's like 2020 gave us the chance to see ourselves. That if I'm not looking at anyone else, I'm not pointing the finger at you. I'm looking at myself in the mirror and seeing what I need to change, adjust, work
mhm,
on, develop. And that time alone, away from everybody, it was perfect. It was, and if people miss that opportunity, I don't think we'll ever get that opportunity again.
yeah,
The time to shut down, to say la, to sit, to rest. I don't think
mm,
it's gonna come. But if it does come around again, it's gonna be in pure chaos, and people are gonna resist it so much,
oh
and
yeah.
it's not gonna be the same as
Yeah,
we experienced in
I
2020.
agree because we've already had it already once. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it's there's a lot to be said about that.
Yes,
There's
a
definitely
lot.
a lot to be said. So the other thing that I wanted to ask you, when I think about like, closing one door and opening another, one thing that comes to my mind is reinvention, right? And it might not be like a complete reinvention, but like it happens on, various levels. Do you feel like that was something that you had to like reinvent yourself to kind of fit where you were going, or did you just like go as is? And whether it's like the way that you practice in your practice, or because you're dealing with like a different group of people, in this essence, it's not like the chaotic Americans.
It's true. I'm gonna answer that from a relationship point of view, romantic relationship, friendship, platonic, and like family, right?
Yeah,
So I'll start with the romantic. Um, you know, it's just different. It's different to experience romantic partners who are from a whole different culture than you, right?
yeah,
And for me, I was born and raised in America for sure, but sometimes I feel like I never subscribed to the American culture. And so when men here on the continent see an American woman, they expect an American woman based on how they saw us portrayed in society. You know what I'm saying? So that could mean loose.
yeah,
That could
yeah.
mean a woman
Lucy,
who's loose
yeah,
sexually. Hmm?
mm-hmm. Yeah,
That could mean
I,
a
I
woman
know.
who is too strong, who's rude or doesn't know how to be respectful. That could be someone who looks at people with you don't have money. And I had a conversation. These are conversations that I've had with men here,
Wow.
and I'm like, I'm not the American woman that you expect, right? So there is a reinvention of who I am, just based on who I already was. Though it's really, I call it an evolution. I am still me, but
Mm,
I am evolving into someone else. You know what I mean? Because if the goal is for me to get married and have children, then there are certain things that I need to let go. I don't lose myself, but there are certain things that I need to let go, like the hyper independence and all that. Like,
mm,
especially being from the Northeast, like being from
mm.
Boston, like women are tough, tough as nails. We're tougher
Yeah,
than guys at times. You
yeah.
know, we do all the household things. We take out the trash. We wear our Timbs. Like we know how to get down. There's
Mhm.
but there was that, there's a lot of masculinity inside the female body at times.
Yeah.
But even before I moved to South Africa, there was a lot of that. I said I was in my soft woman era, that there was a lot of that I didn't know was preparing me to come over here, but it was.
Mm,
So it's then the evolution and the kind of refiguring of myself, especially when I'm talking about mental health and therapy over here. It's taboo. Like, what? You don't talk about that. You're strong, you're tough, you have a community, you just go forward.
mm,
It is finding how to navigate even in this environment of that,
mm,
and then evolving past my family who still might not understand my move, but I'm not just an American citizen. I am coming to South Africa to get my visa. I'm coming to get my citizenship. I'm coming to integrate myself into this community and culture.
mm.
There are certain ways that I'm changing. The time zone, just on the surface level, the time zone. I'm not up when you guys are up. Sometimes I'm sleeping, or when I'm up,
Exactly.
y'all are sleeping. So
Yeah.
it's me evolving and me reshaping myself, but also watching the people around me have to do the same thing because I'm in a whole different space now.
I love that. I think a lot of people would probably like that's a difficult thing to have to go, and the culture that you're around is completely different. And I like what you
Mhm.
said about the mindset of being from north, because I live in New York. Okay, so
Yeah.
we were close in vicinity somewhat. Okay,
Yes.
you already know, like, with the as Black women, and
What?
it's something you hear so much, and it's really upsetting, to be honest. You know what I'm saying? But the culture in the Black community here in America, it's disgusting. I'm just gonna call it
It
spade a
is.
like,
It
it's
is.
disgusting to the point where a lot of women are just getting tired of dating in general,
Mm-hmm.
because you're
Mm-hmm.
expected to be, a mom, a wife, a lover. Then you gotta be the mom to the man,
Everything.
and work, and they wanna go 50-50 with you.
Yep.
You
Yep.
know, it it's just crazy. So, with going out there, and what you said about, having to adjust to the different culture, how do you communicate with them, like, hey, like, this is not that. Like, this is not that. Like, the idea, or the perception that they have, just because you're from America, regardless, but especially upstate or up north.
Man, it's just me communicating it. I carry myself a certain way. I'm not trying to be someone else. It's me. It's who I am. You know what I mean? I dress modestly. I've always, I'm curvy, so I don't present myself in a certain way that's going to put my body on display. Like, that's who I was even before I got here.
Yes.
But and I'll be honest though, right? I think we're in a time where people are looking for what is not always seen. So me not showing everything actually gets me more attention because people are just used to seeing everything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's just me. It's me having to really explain why I can't associate with certain guys or why I can't associate with certain people because you expect me to be this way. You expect me to be loose. The first time you meet me, you expect us to just be rolling around, together. And it's like, I'm so
No.
sorry that I'm so sorry that someone made you believe that that's who I was. I'm so sorry that society and the videos and the video vixens and the shorts and the this and however someone else is dressing, and that's how they're portraying the Black American culture. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry that you adopted that, and I'm so sorry that you tried to put that blanket on me, but I can't
Yeah.
take it. So
Yeah.
it's me having some tough conversations. And
Mm.
also, African men are very much like accelerated, like, oh, I like you. And the love bombing is insane. If
I've had
you're,
experience with that before, so I know exactly
you
what you
know,
mean. I know what you mean. Ah, my eye would be like, child.
if you're listen, if you're not whole, if you don't know yourself, if you're not well in your mind, if you're still dealing with rejection and abandonment, if you still need to feel people's, acceptance and all of that, you are going to get love bombed to death. Like the nuclear bombs are going to overtake you. The way, I mean, kaboom. The way that people love bomb out here, my goodness gracious. You people are ready to marry you in 2 days. Once they hear that accent, once they know that you have American citizenship, oh, the
Mm-mm.
petitions that I've gotten. Oh my gosh. It is nonsense. You have to be very strong and you have to know yourself and you have to have those clear conversations like I'm all set, like really lose my number because I don't want to interact with you because you're trying to make me fit in this American woman culture. And I don't subscribe. And no shade to anyone who subscribes to it. I don't.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you're not gonna make me fit into the character that you created in your mind.
Hmm. Yeah,
Mm-mm. So it's
yeah.
a clear conversation,
Exactly. I
girl.
to be honest, like I've noticed that it's not just like it almost seems like the effect that the Western world has had globally is
Oh,
really upsetting because like you see, and I even see like black men passport bros, you know what I mean, thinking that you're gonna mess up all the women over here and then try to run to someone else's country so you can destroy their women too. Like you know what I mean? But it's just like the influence that westernized society has thrown out globally. It's like, man, like the quality of men and the ideas that they have is just it's yeah, it's garbage.
it's not about basura. Okay, it's basura.
I can't get behind it, so I don't know. But
No. Mm-mm.
oh, I had one more question that I
Yes.
wanted to ask you, and then I want to get into the reflecting part. So you talked about therapy out there and how it's taboo. So is that something that's not really practiced that much, like in South Africa, or like therapy, mental health? Is that not a thing?
No, it's not really discussed. I think it's coming up, and from what I've seen in some of the circles I've been running with,
Mhm.
I've seen the life coaching. I've seen that people are having events and things like that. I just went to a really good event. It was with an organization called She Lamb, and it's really for the empowerment of women. And if you empower the women, then the entire community is empowered, right?
Yeah.
I believe the man is the head. I'm fine with that. I'm good with that. But if there's a woman in the household and she's not well, then the house isn't well. I don't
Yeah.
care who's running it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? we
Yeah.
are we are the pillar, and I'll argue, I'll die on that hill. We are the pillar of the household.
Mhm.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it was an organization that is making sure that women are okay, that we're okay in business. It's a lot of entrepreneurial things going on.
Mhm.
That's not a common thing that happens when you talk about therapy and mental health. People might be kind of like, oh, okay, I hear you, but they're not actually practicing it, and they're not actually working on their mental health. And what gets me though, and I was born and raised in the church, right? And I feel the same way. What gets me is the people who were traumatized the most, colonized the most,
Mhm.
destroyed the most, broken up the most, are the ones who reject the therapy, the healing the most. That's what I'm like.
Mm.
Now we know Mama Africa was colonized. I mean, she was ripped up everywhere. People were taking chunks out of her back to France, Portugal, Spain, the UK, like all these places. And you mean that you're going to reject the tool that could help you heal, the generational healing? So
Mhm.
it's some, but I'm stubborn and I'm hard headed and I have a backbone and I don't mind pushing because this is something that we have to talk about. So people know about it, but they don't practice it. Not as
Mm.
much. Not as much as we need to be. Mm-mm.
Now, do you think that's because I know like out here, I mean, you've had experience too. Like when you talk about therapy, and it always seems as though it's more women now. But black
Always.
men, they're like, "Oh, well, no, I got family, I got friends, I don't need a therapist," and it's like, but they're not, like, licensed. They're going through the same thing that you're going through, so they're not really contributing or giving you any positive attributes as to how to
Not at
heal.
all.
You know what I
It's the
mean?
blind leading the blind. It's
Exactly.
the blind leading the blind.
Mhm,
That's what it is.
exactly. Um, so looking back now, what are you most grateful in your journey in this next chapter or in looking forward to say?
Man, I'm full of gratitude. I'm just grateful to have been given the chance to experience life in a different way. I see life in a different lens.
Mm,
I think I'm grateful for my upbringing. My mother and my father, they
mhm.
cultured us. They had us around all different people. They had us in Jack and Jill. They had us around white people, black people. We could
Yeah.
speak ebonics and slang, but we could also be proper and know the right fork and knife. I still put my napkin on my lap to this day. Like if I'm eating, there's a napkin on my lap because my mother is an etiquette coach, and this is what we had to do. So I'm appreciative of all those experiences that cultured us
Mm,
and made me be open to be in any space.
mm,
I think if I didn't have that openness, I couldn't survive out here because you're trying to navigate something that's not yours. And
mm.
I'm not saying that my way is the elite way. I'm open to learning new cultures, new ideologies, new
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
So they kept our minds very open, and I'm grateful. I'm full of gratitude for that.
I love that. And just
Yeah.
being able to, I think that also speaks to not everyone is malleable in that way. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
Like they're very rigid
mm,
in their thinking. And so to be able to be open to like different facets and perspectives in life
mm.
really does give you a more richer, life experience in general.
It
Um,
does. It does.
so what are you now most looking forward to in this next chapter? And then I just want to add on to that. You talked about like we just talked about like the outlet or the perspective of therapy. So I'm waiting for the answer.
Yes. I'm really looking forward to lending everything that I learned in America, like
Mm,
especially education wise. I'm looking forward to lending it here. This is where I consider home.
yeah.
This is where our ancestors are from. This is my blood, my DNA comes from here.
Mm,
So I want to take all the things that I had the privilege to learn in a westernized country.
mm,
I want to bring it back here and really help to drive and to push the betterment of the people here.
mm,
There's a lot of subservient behavior, and I mean that in a
mm,
real way, especially with the apartheid and just being broken down over so many years that
mm,
over here the American boldness is appreciated. We've been told that they're like, oh my gosh, Americans are so bold. It kind of intimidates us, but we also are fascinated by it because they're very like, ma'am, and yeah, and more quiet, and they speak softer. We're like, hold on. So I'm looking forward to lending everything that I learned, all that was placed inside of me in America, bringing it over here, not to colonize at all,
yeah, no,
but
that's not even yeah.
because sometimes we can do that too. I had a friend who she's from America, but she moved to Tanzania. She's been there for a couple of years. She was like, "Don't come over here colonizing." And I said, "Oh, okay," but it's true. I don't
Right.
want to colonize, but I want to lend what I know to help make systems better. I'm looking forward to that being plugged into South African culture, and I want to learn Zulu. I have someone who said he's going to teach me Zulu, so I want to
Ooh,
learn Zulu,
okay. So what
and
is
I want to
Zulu?
speak.
No, oh, it's the
Yes,
language.
it's the
Okay.
main it's the main language here. It's Zulu, and I want to learn it, and I've been picking it up, so I'm excited.
So, okay, how many words have you learned so far? Because I'm
Oh,
like, teach
girl, not
just
not a
one.
whole bunch. Okay, thank you is Niabona.
Niabona. Like that?
Niabona. Thank you.
Niabona.
Yes, thank you.
Niabona. I'm
Niabona.
going outside like after this. I'm gonna be like, Niabona.
Hello, Niabona. Thank
They're
you.
gonna be
And
like,
you
girl,
gotta
you
say,
see?
look, it's a frequency. It's very the way they speak is not like Mia Bona. No, it's Mia Bona. Like you just
Niabona.
it's like all music. When you hear them speak, I'm just like, oh my gosh,
Niabona.
it sounds amazing. Yeah. And the music, piano music, like you can hear it and it's everything.
I love that. That sounds so exciting to me. Like
It's
that's like a
awesome,
whole
girl.
new experience, and it's like that's oh man, bold, brave, like love everything, all of the good
I'm
things.
grateful. Yeah.
All right. And then the final question is if there's one message that you can leave the viewers with, what would that be?
Um, for me, it would be to trust yourself. That you know what you know. I think you had asked when we had, done our pre-talk, like what would I want to tell even myself, now when I was younger, that's what I'll always say. Trust yourself. You know what you know. Sometimes we want to be in delusion. This is the life coach speaking. Sometimes we want to be in delusion and we want to stay in the little bubble of delusion and we want to think, oh no, this isn't happening. You know, in your spirit, we are spiritual people. Life is spiritual. You know what you know. And if we stop pushing things down and turning the volume down on what we know, then we'll realize that we should be walking through certain doors and we should be slamming other doors. And I mean, removing ourselves from certain people, places, and things that no longer serve our purpose. So if we know what we know and we allow ourselves to hear and to listen and not deny and be like, oh, I heard that, but I don't want to do that because we don't have the courage, know what you know and go with that. You know what you know. You know the truth. Don't be in
Exactly.
delusion. Refuse to be in delusion and deception and the lies. You know what you know, and you know that you need to be doing what you need to do. So go ahead and do it.
I absolutely love that. And with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up this interview. Um, do you have like a website or a place for the viewers to connect with you?
Yeah, website soon comes, soon loading, but
Okay.
on all social media. So on Facebook, it's Lilac Calandra, just as you see spelled in my name. That's a combination of my favorite color, my middle name. So and on Instagram, it's Lilac_Calandra. TikTok is Lilac Calandra. YouTube is Lilac Calandra. I do meditations. I release videos. I just do posts about real things and to challenge us to be better people. So happy to connect. I'm going to be doing some groups just about boundaries and things like that. So please, everyone can look out for that. And if you want to join that, let's do it. But let's get to the best versions of ourselves because we know who we are.
Absolutely. All right. Well, this has been a pleasure.
Oh,
It's always
thank
good
you.
talking to you. This is the second
Yes.
time. I'm like, I love her.
I love you too. This is so awesome. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me and vibing with me and just offering a great space for truth and honesty. I really appreciate it and love this so
Oh,
much.
thank you. Thank you for being on. You're my second guest, so I'm like, woo woo. So, I want to thank you guys for watching this episode of Truth, Trust, and Trajectory. It was definitely a very powerful episode. I got a lot from it. If you guys found any value or if it resonated at all, please leave something in the comments. Also, make sure you check the link in the description box for ways to get in touch with Steph. And also check the description box for coaching opportunities for anyone that might possibly be needing a coach. You can find access to that as well as Truth, Trust, and Trajectory on Facebook. Love and light. Bye.